Andrea, Macarena, welcome to Resilient Retail. I am so excited about this conversation. You are the first guest from Mexico, so it's going to be a really fun conversation on culture differences and how to grow in a different country. To start off, can you guys just tell us a little bit about yourselves and about your brand?
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for inviting us, Christine, and to considering us. It's great to be the first Mexicans here in your show. And do you want me to start, Maca?
Yeah, go ahead, Andy.
Okay, so I'm Andrea, and I co-founded Raw Apothecary with Maca. So about myself, I studied marketing, and all my professional experience is also in marketing. I used to work in media companies. Maca is going to tell you a little bit more about her background, but I can tell you that she has a very, very different background. So we have like very complementary knowledge. We're a very multidisciplinary team, and that's great. So when I was working at the media companies, Maca was already in this entrepreneur startup world, and she wanted to do something with me because we're best friends since a long time ago, maybe 25 years, I don't know.
Yeah.
So it was very cool to do like a project together, but just like a hobby. We weren't really thinking about building a company.
Mm-hmm.
So when she actually proposed me the idea of making a skincare brand, and I'm such a beauty junkie. I'm also a makeup artist. So when she told me that, I was like, obviously I want to do something like that. And obviously I want to do it with my best friend. But at that time, it was only a hobby. And we actually weren't thinking about, I think it was in our unconscious, the thing that she was a chemical engineering with finance experience. I was in marketing. And we weren't thinking about it because it was just a hobby. But I mean, at the end, it was actually, I think that's the key of our success, that we have such different knowledge that we can apply to the company so we can grow faster and make faster decisions. But as I was telling you, it was just a hobby. And well, now we're here with a company, and I'm going to let Maca to talk a little bit more about it and about her background.
Yeah, so I love the way Andy tells the story. We talk a lot, Kristen, and even though this is our second language and we're struggling with this English conversation, you need to stop us, okay? Because we just don't stop.
You're doing good. You're doing great. I love it.
So like Andy said, I'm a chemical engineer, but all my professional experience was in finance. I worked for a private equity firm in Mexico that invested mostly in retail companies, some e-commerce, but like more in the travel space, and retail in fashion, and also in beauty in some sort of way. But I really, really, really hated my job. It was like I was dying inside. So when I decided to quit, I was kind of desperate because I have been working my entire life in finance, and I didn't know what else to do. So I was like, I need to find something that I use the skills I have. And I actually studied chemical engineering because I thought I was going to make products and be living in a lab. And I thought that was going to be my story. And it ended up like not being what I thought it was. And so when I called Andy and she said yes, I was like, I hope this works because I don't have any plan B. So that's basically my background a little bit.
Amazing. So tell me about Raw Apothecary and what you guys do, what you sell, and how you kind of got started.
So what we do is we create all natural skincare products. And right now, Raw is only a skincare brand, but we're planning on expanding in many different verticals, such as hair and body. So what we do is actually natural beauty. That's like, I think we're cleaning it a little bit because it started as skincare, but now the tagline is like natural beauty products.
Yeah, natural and also sustainable. So when we started the brand, Maca just told me like, let's do like these facial products and facial oils. And I was like, obviously, let's do it.
Yeah.
So she told me like, okay, can you do all the branding and the personality of the brand and the buyer persona and everything? So I took it very seriously because I haven't done that in my past life. And I was so excited to finally have this marketing approach into something. So when I started like doing all the benchmark, we realized that there were tons of skincare brands all over the world, but not so much in Latin America.
Yeah.
That they were following this D2C business model, and they were trying to make a better thing in the beauty industry, because beauty has been very toxic from a long time ago. They have a very, maybe like not a very cool communication, mostly with women. And so when we started, we thought like, okay, first let's do it natural, because that's what we actually believe as persons. And also it was easier,
Yeah.
And let's make it sustainable. I mean, at that time it was 2018. So it was almost like a responsibility if you're founding a new company, that you have to take that into your plan. So it was like, let's do it sustainable, natural, but also let's change the way that people see beauty. It's not something that it's not like not approachable. It has to be approachable. You have to feel like secure in your own skin, and there's not actually like a perfect skin. If you have a normal life, if you go with your friends and sometimes have a drink and you go to you're going to have some things in your skin that are actually like leaving marks. So that's something that you have to celebrate. So we wanted to really change that way of thinking. And also it was very important for us to have a lot of, to be like an inclusive brand, because here in LATAM, mostly all of the brands just talk to a very specific profile of maybe 25 to 35 women that has a certain personality. And I mean, skin is for everyone. Everyone has a skin, right? It's an organ of all humans. So why should we talk to just one person? Let's talk to everyone. At the end, in marketing, you have to be a little bit more targeting. I don't know if that's a word. Like you have to target a segment. But we always make sure to, in the communication, to talk to almost everyone. So it doesn't depend on your age or on your gender. It depends on what kind of skin do you have. And that's how you can choose products. But every brand of skincare or cosmetics or hair or body should actually have the approach to talk to everyone, because everyone needs this kind of products. It's like a toothpaste,
Yeah. Yep.
So that's why we decided to build this brand, and it was also very important for us to follow all these trends that we at that time we realized that they were really big trends in the market, and to start having a very ambitious plan here in Latin America, because we realized that it wasn't like a clear leader in this industry that was following these trends, the natural, the sustainability, the values, and the ethic behind the brand. So that's why we started it, and it started like a hobby, but then we realized the potential of it. And we tested the idea for 1 year in little like markets and bazaars. And that's when we realized like, oh, this can be really big. Maybe we shouldn't consider it as a hobby. Maybe we should now do it like more serious and start, like putting more enthusiasm into this project.
Yeah. So you just mentioned kind of like that traditional bazaar, which is something that used to be very popular in the US and now kind of isn't so much so. It's not really culturally the way that we shop. And I've actually been to Mexico City many times. My mom is originally from Argentina, so I have this connection. So I have walked the streets and I've kind of seen this outdoor retail type culture. And that's really where you guys started. Can you explain to our listeners who have never been to Mexico, who have never seen this kind of retail experience, can you explain what the culture around these bazaars are and what it's like in Mexico to kind of shop in this way?
So I'm just going to say something before, because I think I have a friend that she's from Germany, okay? And when she came to Mexico, she told me, I feel like Mexico is like a place where everything's possible and nothing works like you're used to it. So
Yeah.
having that in mind, entering the conversation, Mexico is still a very sort of like people focused countries, right? So e-commerce was not really taking off and retail was the king. And even like these local bazaars was where every single brand started. Not even like even bigger brands, they usually like start selling physically because Mexicans really like contact with people and they like to sort of make it a weekend activity. So you take your entire family to these like tiny bazaar and they're usually, I mean, we went to like a lot, like 20 of them, like different types of bazaars, but they're usually sort of like in downtown, in like a nice neighborhood with a lot of restaurants and things to do around. And you have sort of like a building and it's filled with like little booths with companies that sell from skincare, shoes, a lot of fashion is sold there, and even things like you don't even imagine, like house things or like flowers, whatever. So in those local markets, the whole idea is to spend a day there. So families come there or friends come there and they have a coffee and they walk around and then they walk around the neighborhood. And that is, I believe, like right now, obviously that's not working because COVID. But as soon as this COVID ends, that's going to be still in fashion. We really like to do that. I miss that. I miss like not being in the bazaar because selling in the bazaar is exhausting, Kristen. Like it
I
kills
bet.
your soul. The working retail is hard. It's a killer. But
Yeah.
it's sort of like cultural thing that it's not gonna die anytime soon. Even though e-commerce is growing, the bazaar and the whole like personal experience is just not gonna die here.
Yeah, and also the brands that you can get in that bazaars are like very local with very specific design. So everything that you got there is something that you're like proud to have
Special.
because special. You have like this, I don't know, this special ring that you're not going to get in the big store. So it has also like this charm of the things that you can get there.
Yeah, I feel like because there's so much of an experience and like a cultural connection going on in these bazaars, and it's like, yeah, you're going out shopping. You're not going. A lot of what we do, especially on e-commerce, especially in the US, would be considered more buying versus shopping. Like, okay, I need to buy this, so I go to Amazon and I pick it up, or I need to go to the supermarket and pick it up. Versus kind of this like what maybe malls in the US used to feel like actually you go and it's this event and you're shopping and you're experiencing it with other humans. When you do have those experiences and you buy something, you create this like emotional connection to what you're buying. And I think it's my hope and kind of a lot of our predictions that even the US is kind of going more towards this, back towards this, what Main Street was supposed to be, this focus on local, because during the pandemic, a lot of customers went, oh, I don't want my local businesses to die. Target, Walmart, big box stores, they're going to be fine. So I'm going to shift back to buying local. And it feels hopeful because even just hearing you guys talk about that experience, like you can almost put yourself in it, like the sensory overload, the experience, the like talking to vendors and knowing who you're buying from is something so powerful. What was kind of your experience, or was there anything in particular that from the brand perspective, all those times getting that one-on-one with customers, what was that experience like to spend so many months in the bazaars first before going online?
Oh yeah, it was so enlightening for us to actually, that was key for us to get to product market fit, because I mean, when we started, we have the idea that I just told you about the brand, the natural, sustainable, but it was like in doubt.
Conceptual. It wasn't.
It was just an idea, but we really didn't know what was the path that this brand is going to take. So when we started in the bazaars, the first thing that we realized is all the people that we attract to the brand because of the branding. So that was a very interesting insight, because our branding is very neutral, like very minimal. And that makes us like, that was helpful to achieve that. A lot of people, doesn't matter the age of the gender, approached to us and they were like, what is this? they didn't even knew that it was a skincare. It was something like kind of new. Some of them thought they were like how do you say, like
aromatherapy, like therapeutical things.
Or some of them thought it was like natural medicine that you can like take.
Yeah, because you guys really were kind of starting. This category is saturated and really popular in the US and other countries, but like you're saying earlier, this is kind of a totally new thing for Mexico. It's a new kind of product. It's a new kind of business. So having that kind of like that bazaar experience, we're getting that one-on-one, being able to go, oh, we have a lot of education to do up front here. There's a lot more work we have than we necessarily thought.
Yeah, totally. And also imagine that our last name, which is Apothecary, is something that people really don't know here in Mexico. What is, they can even pronounce it. It's everyone it's criticizing the name of our brand because they are like, why did you chose such a difficult name to say?
But they're not going to forget it though. Once they say it, they're not going to forget it.
We love it at that point. So I don't care if you can pronounce it. I love this because it has a logic thing. I mean, it has a story, so I'm not going to change it. But everyone is like, but what is apothecary? What is that? Why that name? And I'm like, it's like a place where you like mix and match different natural ingredients to make a skincare or not a skincare, maybe a medicinal product. So, but in the US, there were a lot of brands with the apothecary last name. And he was like, what is this? So it was also, I mean, that was a thing that we realized that it's a big opportunity here to start that kind of business with that kind of communication and that style and everything that you already said. It was already very popular in the US and also in Europe. And we inspired, and we were not just very inspired. We proved, like in the bazaars, we have the proof that it is going to work. We just have to perfect it. And as you say, we realize what we need to communicate in order for the people to understand our brand, to understand this type of skincare, and to actually buy from us.
That really is, it feels like when I'm talking to, small local retailers who then go online, which is very similar to your journey, which we're going to talk about in just a second. It's what I hear every time is there is this unique advantage to starting in person versus starting online, because you get these really deep and nuanced conversations with customers where they're giving you their raw, visceral response to your brand. And you could say, oh, okay, so on our website, we need to answer this question, this question, and this question. We need to define this, this, and this for them. This is what our imagery should look like. That all goes into the e-commerce so well, which is, lots of these retailers who are struggling to go into e-commerce. I just keep telling them but you've got something here. Like you have this unique ability to know your customers better than kind of a pure digitally native brand. Macarena, you said these bazaars are just exhausting to sell at. Do you have like a favorite story or memory that comes up from those times that you're just like, man, this was crazy?
I'm going to tell you something. So we only had 3 products, okay, which we obviously understood that 3 products was not enough, okay? That was like, people were like, you just have these 3 products. We had an entire table and we just like filled it with flowers and things because we had 3. But what we did, this is like truly very funny, okay? To like grab people's attention and like make it feel like it was a very popular booth. It's like Andy would go on the other side of the table and I would be on this side. And she would be like, wow, this product seems so interesting.
Amazing.
What are they? And I would start explaining like their skincare products and things, and people like would be crossing by and they would be like, oh, they're skincare products. And you know what you were saying about the education? We sort of like grabbed it a little bit at the beginning and we thought like no one knows what these products are. So that like if you had seen us, we were like laughing really hard, and then it was very awkward because a lot of customers would come and then they would like just transfer to the other side of the booth and be like, I'll charge you,
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I want 10 of these ones. And you were like, oh, we have just 11. And the other one was like, I want another one. I want. So it was so funny. That was our strategy of selling.
I love it though. It is. I mean, it seems like it's like this funny, we're all giggling. It's a funny strategy because you're imagining like, oh, let me just hustle to the other side of the table, pretend like I'm a customer. But if you think about like the most high tech digital marketing, really, it all comes down to that. It's kind of a brand saying, all right, we're going to make some noise over here and start talking about who we are, whether it's on Facebook or Instagram or Google or a podcast. And then people are going to get interested in that. So it's really like from the very beginning, you guys had this just innate understanding of like, well, if we start a conversation and then people are going to hear it, they're going to kind of attract to us. And then we can get them into kind of our quote unquote conversion funnel.
And right now, literally about it, it's so funny that I just realized that since the beginning, we were creating FOMO because right now our marketing focus, like our strategy is to always create FOMO, you need to have this. It's like the best kit and it's only going 10 soon and there are only 10 and it's a special edition. So everyone always tell us like, it's just exhausting that every time you like launch something, I really need to have it. You're creating like this. Oh my God, I'm going to lose this promo. We literally do.
And you're like, haha, we've done this. And it does make a lot of sense. Yeah. With the market that you're in, especially with selling in Mexico, where this is kind of this new product category, that FOMO makes a lot of sense because it's like, okay, you're going into this new experience, this exclusive experience. And so it makes it very like high demand. Like, oh, wait, I want a piece of that. If there's only 10 and 9 of them are already taken, that kind of immediately triggers that curiosity, which is amazing. So you guys started out in this kind of like physical retail space. And then you eventually did shift to a D2C or e-commerce model. Before we go into kind of the cultural explanation of e-commerce in Mexico, why did you guys come to that decision to say, okay, I think now we're ready and we want to go fully online?
So like Andy told you at the beginning, we thought we were only going to sell in bazaars for like Christmas and we'll have like some extra money for gifts or vacation or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So we saw there was actually a market and then we sat down in January and we said like, I think we might have something here. There's a lot of people asking us, do you guys have an Instagram account? Where can we buy from you? And at that moment, we made a lot of mistakes, but we decided that e-commerce was our road because also we were working at another jobs. We had other jobs. So we were working like from Monday to Friday. And then the entire weekend we were working on our bazaars and like selling physically. So we were like, we're about to lose our minds and this has the ability to grow bigger. So let's just like try this thing. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Let's just like put like how we say in Mexico, this phrase is going to translate terribly in English, but like put the entire meat in the grill, just like put
I love that.
On the grill. Yes.
What is that phrase in Spanish? Can you actually say that phrase in Spanish? Because I feel like it's just going to be beautiful.
Poner toda la carne en el asador.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So yeah, I think it's all the way. You got to go all the way in. And I love that you guys did it, especially it's one thing to go all in on e-commerce in the US. It's a totally different world to do this in Mexico. I mean, D2C is kind of like all the rage. And we're saying, e-commerce has grown about 10 years in 1 year because of the pandemic and all of this. But that's not necessarily the case in Mexico. Can you explain kind of what the culture around e-commerce both was before the pandemic and if it's kind of changed at all and how the consumer is so different in Mexico than they are in the US?
Well, I definitely think that here in Mexico, there is still a lot of mistrust by putting your financial information into some online store that you don't know if it's official or not. Like, sadly, it has happened a lot of times that people just like commit fraud in internet. So also, we're not a very like, how do you say, like, not all Mexicans have credit cards, like literally. No. They manage a lot of
I was telling you, like the number, if you take like 10 people in the US and you tell them, take out your credit cards, you'll get like 25 credit cards. And in Mexico, you'll get 2.
Wow.
Which is insane.
Yes. So it's insane. So at that point, I mean, it was helpful for us, the bazaar thing, because our first customers were people that already knew us. So they have already talked to us. They knew already that we weren't like a fake thing. They already knew the brand. So that was also very helpful to start in the retail.
Yeah. There was a lot of that trust that was already made, so that when you did go online, they were like, okay, we've talked to the founders. We know Andrea and Macarena. We've seen them. We've given them our money and we got a good product back. So now we can feel comfortable shopping online. But maybe not so much the case for everybody else that you've connected with that didn't first find you in the bazaar.
And I think it's worth saying that in like Mexican culture and just the way the country works and everything, it's not like Mexicans are mistrusting naturally. What happens is like we live in a very corrupt government where things just like normally don't work. In Mexico City, things don't work. And sometimes you order something online and it is in customs for 2 years. Or it's just like lost in the mail. So it's actually like a true assumption, okay? We're mistrusting because we have an actual reason to be.
Yeah.
But also, I remember that at first, we also started to to be in different local stores, like boutique stores, so we can start building this trust. So people were like, where did you sell your products? And we were like, online. So, but like somewhere else, and we were like, yeah, we're in this boutique. So they were like, oh, so it's a real thing. I'm going to buy online. So that was just like a strategy, not for selling actually, but just to
actually sold zero in those boutiques.
But it was say like we're selling in these boutique stores that are in these very important streets in Mexico, and that was all the strategy that we make to gain confidence. But also at the beginning, we have a lot of payments in cash. So we have like this system that you can buy something and go to like a local store and you can pay cash, and then your
every time we explain this, it's super surreal. Like you have the benefits of like buying online. So it's practical. You're like 2 a.m. buying online, but you need to go to a 7-Eleven to actually pay that thing, which is zero practical. So I think that's very funny of Mexico. And we're not talking like a few people. We're talking 35% of our sales.
Wow.
Yeah. Not right now. We have, thank God, we have changed that. There were a lot of things that we needed to do in order to gain that confidence. Also, Macarena and I was always like in social media, in our own accounts, talking to people. We were in all the stories, in all the photos, so people can see like, okay, there are real persons behind this. And right now it's also very important for the brand. So we gain like not just confidence, also empathy, and people feel really close to the brand because we're always talking to them personally. We're always in the face of the brand.
It makes me kind of wish that US-based D2C brands had to deal with some of this, because it means that you guys have had to grow in this authentic way where you're having to put so much of yourself out there to say, we are real and we have good intentions and our products are great. And you can go to a store and get that kind of confidence of seeing the products, or you can pay however you feel comfortable paying. I actually think it's something that a lot of D2C is missing, because it is so easy in the US. We all have credit cards. We all have it. The information is saved on our like computers, so we can one-click check out. And there could be so much more of this kind of like trust building and relationship building. And I love that so much. So other than kind of that, the content and the founder trust, what else have you guys done on the e-commerce side to really combat that low trust with customers and to bring new people into almost a totally new way of buying?
There's something else. You cannot make mistakes with deliveries, for example. So there's something like in the US, when you order something and maybe it's late, it's going to arrive, right? You say, oh, the company is delivering it late, but you're not thinking, I just got robbed. That's not something you think off the top of your head. And in Mexico, it's the first thing people are thinking, okay? So if you're 3 days late, they're going to write to you, is my package going to arrive? Did you just stole my money, And we actually had this like horrible experience for our first in Mexico, there's this thing called the Buen Fin. That's sort of like the Black Friday of Mexico. Okay, so it's like before Christmas, and you have a lot of discounts and whatever. And we decided to do this like very aggressive promotion, and we didn't have the operational ability to actually deliver those packages on time. It was just impossible. We were 3 employees, and it was insane. And we were about a month late. Okay. And this created we actually thought this was the end of our brand. And I think it's related to your question, because it's about these like mistakes you cannot make here, right?
Yeah.
So people are already mistrusting you. And
you
they created
a very, very early stage. So
yes, they're like us and recover. Recover. But we had to call people. Andy and I like didn't shower for like 4 days, just calling people personally and being like, hi, my name is Macarena. I own this brand, and this is a very new brand, and I'm sorry. And we have your product here, and we're trying to deliver it, but we just like don't have enough paper to print the guides. We're literally like overwhelmed with this. And that was something like we now we say like delivery and obviously product, but when you deliver, one thing is you get the product and you don't like it, but if you think you're being robbed, it's like the worst experience in the world. So we were like very pushy with notifications, and you get your guide on time, and you know where your product is going. You know what I mean? So that's like very, very important.
Yeah. And having that kind of personal outreach when something does go wrong, which, I mean, even in the US in 2020, we had all these shipping delays, all these issues with the supply chain, with logistics, with fulfillment. And you really saw that it was the brands who did what you guys did and either wrote a very honest email to their customers or got on the phone and said, we are real people and this is what we're going through and we're really sorry. It actually goes such a long way, because then you've kind of flipped this potentially terrible experience of, oh, this company has robbed me. And now you're flipping it to, oh no, this company is trying to do something really special. And now they're working really hard. So I found this stat today that I want to bring up because it's absolutely incredible. I think it was Forbes who reported it. In the middle of the pandemic, you guys increased your sales by up to 200%, going from selling about $500,000 to $1.5 million a month, which is 3 times the growth in the middle of a pandemic. What were the biggest kind of things you guys did that you think contributed to this growth, or the biggest learnings that you've had through all of that growth?
I mean, overall, I think that when the pandemic started, people started gaining actually trust in e-commerce, because that was the only way to shop. So they were like, okay, I don't have a choice. I need to shop online. And that was very helpful for us. Also, I think people started to like taking more care of themselves. So skincare was a very, like it was an industry that it didn't have a rough patch during the pandemic. But also, I think that from our side, the communication was key, because we were talking a lot about, well, not talking, we were trying to create this empathy about the people that couldn't go out, that were having a rough time. Maybe some of the people lost their jobs, or they were really anxious. They were changing physically and mentally. And since it started, we were like, okay, don't worry. We have different promotions. We have discounts. Also, let's create something new so people can feel better with themselves. They can like have a spa movement, and they can have like a scrub and a mask so they can relax. And we were making not just content to sell, but also making content that was useful for that time. So we were giving people some tips so they can handle it better. How can you take care of your mind and not just about your body? How can you eat better during this time? Now, health is something that we have to prioritize. So we were giving a lot of information about health overall. I mean, not very specific, obviously, because we're not doctors. But we were trying to really deliver things that they were useful to people at that time. Yeah. I mean, if you're like in Instagram, or if you're receiving an email, or in Facebook, you don't want in such a bad time, you don't want to get advertising 100%. Like,
Yeah.
you really want something that you're going to use that information into your own life. So I think that was very helpful to create a better audience. Right now, I think that the audience and the engagement that we have in our social media and in our different digital platforms is so amazing, because people really feel close to us because of all that things that we did at that time. We were like, okay, don't worry. If you want a mask and right now you're having an economic issue, don't worry. I can deliver it to you in a special price. Also, at that last year, like in December, we make this project that is called We Care, in which we ask people, like, tell us if you know someone, that have a very difficult time during the pandemic, so we can like send them someone. We know that a skincare kit is not going to solve something, but maybe it's going to get you a big smile, and that for us is good already. So a lot of people nominate like their mothers, fathers, sisters, friends, telling
hospital workers, like more like social workers and everything.
Exactly, and they were telling us very difficult stories. So we send them like a letter and a very big kit of skincare, and we tell them like, sorry for your terrible moment. We thank you for your labor and all the things that you have done, and be strong. We want you to be happy and to have a moment for yourself. So here there goes a big kit for you. We know this is not going to solve all of your issues, but we just want to make sure that you have a moment for yourself. And that kind of little things that you do for your audience, like it's just giving them back all the success that we already achieved. I think it's key, and it's also it's responsible for us to do it. I mean, we have grown because of them. So if we don't like give it back in some way, we're just people that we're not entrepreneurs. We're just business girls that want someone. That's not the point. We really want to build something important and to make a difference.
Yeah, I love that. And it's honestly what I say to like every brand I ever work with is how can you become bigger than your products? How can you become something that is meaningful beyond just what you sell? And that's exactly what you guys kind of live up to. Is we're going to give you content, and you said it like Andrea, you said it completely right. We didn't make content for sales. We made it to help somebody in this moment. And what's so cool about that is eventually, obviously, looking at your numbers, sales up by about 200%, like that leads into sales later because you've given them a place to feel comfortable and you've given them so much that buying a product then seems kind of like a no-brainer. So it sounds like a strategy, but it really is just doing great business for the people that have helped you grow. So I'm curious now what you guys think. And I know predicting the future now is nearly impossible. I can't even predict what tomorrow is going to be like. But do you think do you think that kind of with this shift in the pandemic that's forced people to shop online, that's moved the culture towards a little bit more trust with e-commerce, do you think that Mexico will return to kind of the bazaar type of shopping, or do you think e-commerce will start to take over more than it is now? Do you think there's going to be a balance? How do you think those kind of trends are going to work out in Mexico?
No, e-commerce is here to stay in Mexico. So we just advanced a couple of years, and the growth it has had, and also like the barriers it has broken, because there's a lot of things happening in Mexico at once, right? So there are like new banks providing credit cards and different ways to be like bankerized. So that's happening. There's also like better companies that are, like better funded with better strategies and around e-commerce. I'm talking more like around the ecosystem. So for example, deliveries, right? So there are a lot of companies that now help e-commerce deliver, which we didn't have 2 years ago. Like when we started Raw, there were 0 companies that would make you could make your fulfillment and your deliveries with 0, or even like payment connectors with your Shopify store, or all those things are sort of like joining in. And during the pandemic, it just made them join faster. And I think like right now, we do have an advantage that we started a little bit earlier when everyone told us like e-commerce is going to take forever. It's going to be like in the next 5 years, 10 years. And then this thing, and we were very stubborn. Okay. We were like, no, this is how it's going to be. And we have seen it in other countries, and maybe it takes a little bit, but the ecosystem will grow. And now that the ecosystem has grown, like bankerized, people are growing, and the mistrust is kind of broken because we didn't have another choice. Like Andy said, like you had to buy online. So like, you had to buy online. It had to be broken. I think like although retail will always be strong in Mexico and social connections are just part of our culture and the way we like to shop, the way e-commerce is going to grow here, it's going to be unprecedented. Like we're going to be very, very, very fast in that growth. And in 5 years, we'll be at the same level maybe the US is in 3, like the gap is going to close a little bit.
Yeah. It makes so much sense. But what I love what you said too about that was, even though the culture is shifting and the mistrust has been kind of broken, and you're still, people are pushing into online, and that's going to continue to grow. I love that you also said, but this social aspect of shopping and personal connection is so big in the culture, in Mexican culture. So do you guys have kind of any thoughts to re-enter the physical retail world at some point when it's safe? Do you want to get back into that kind of type of business when you can?
Totally. Like, Christine, we're eager to it. We had that plans last year, and obviously we couldn't achieve them. But I think that the experience that you can deliver in a retail store is like it's so different, and it can make you attract also a different kind of people, and that's also very interesting. And I don't think you have to only have an e-commerce or just a retail shop. If you have like this omni-channel strategy, it's better for you because you can attract people. Maybe it's the same people, but in different times of their lives. Maybe you need a skincare product and you want it fast. You're going to get it online. But maybe you're walking in a very nice street in Mexico, and then you realize there's a Raw Apothecary store where they can give you some tea and a special, I don't know, a spa thing on your face or whatever. Mm-hmm. And that is also something that you can do for your brand. So it's going to make the branding better. The people is going to
relationship better.
Relationship is going to be better. So for us, it's very important to be in a retail store.
And also, like, we really feel like right now with like economic difficulties that will come, like due to this pandemic, people are going to be like more specific, not specific, but like choosy about what they put their money into, right? So the better the brand experience and the better you are with those customers, the more chances you'll have of receiving those dollars that are going to be, for a limited time, a little bit low.
Yeah. That's such a good point. Such a smart thing to be thinking about is if these dollars are kind of being picked and chosen where they go, and people are being very specific about it. If you give them a great brand experience, they are most likely going to want to kind of give back to you in that way. And so we've talked so much about culture and community in your country. In the last, year, 2 years of growing this business, what have you guys learned about Mexico as a country and the community that you are in?
Oh, God. I mean, we both love Mexico, okay? We love Mexico. We have learned that people will never get tired of the personal communication. So Andy and me will always have to be there talking and being part of that. So, and also we have learned that we can grow pretty fast as a culture, right? So we needed to make a shift, and it happened in 3 months. So we're very moldable, and we're very ready to change all the time. We're not very stuck with our beliefs. And I thought that was interesting because I thought that Mexican culture was very strong in their beliefs. And the truth is like, no, the new generation is very eager to change. And I find that very, very interesting.
Yeah. Dare I say that the culture is resilient?
Yes. Very.
Very.
God. I think it's a definition of Mexican.
And also as an entrepreneurs, also we change a lot in that way. I think that right now we're so resilient to everything. It's like, like if you start like in a startup, you need to adapt fast to everything and just to get all the positive things about it. Because if not, you're going to suffer a lot.
Yeah. For sure. And this leads me right into our last question today, which Andrea, Macarena, I'll let either one of you answer this. You guys have this, I believe, really deep connection with kind of this word and this idea. But what does resilience mean to you?
I mean, for me, it's like the capability to actually adapt, but by taking all the possible things out of it, out of the situation. Not just like, okay, I accept this and I'm sad about it. No, like, what can you get from that situation and just move on? Don't get stuck with it. The things change. I mean, pandemic, come on. When did we thought that we were going to have a pandemic all over the world? It happens, well, too bad. What can you get from it? And how can you move on without like being stuck in something?
I think Andy touches a key point. Even like whole Mexican culture, we're like very resilient, but in a light way. So we laugh about the things that happen to us. And that is something we have always had, and us personally, and we see it everywhere. But it's sort of like, okay, we understand their difficulties. We understand we need to change. Let's just like laugh a little bit about it, our troubles, and then move on.
Yeah. I love that you just said that, because in my kind of season 1 wrap, I answered this question for the audience because I've asked, 20, 30 people now, what does resilience mean to you? And what I found was so amazing is in my journey through this podcast is I used to have this very kind of rough and tumble definition of resiliency, that it meant grit and fighting through and just putting your nose to the grindstone no matter what happens. And what I've learned from all these entrepreneurs and all these stories is exactly what you just said, is there is that part of resiliency, but there is this softer, kind of quieter, more humble side of it as well. That is, we can laugh at it and we can say, yeah, cute that we thought we could plan our life and control everything in the world. And there's just this quieter version of, well, that's it. Wipe our hands, keep moving forward. And to me, that's been the most beautiful thing that I've learned through this, is kind of embracing that softer, less serious side of resiliency, because it's just as important in the world that we're in today. So guys, thank you so much for being on today. I have had so much fun in this conversation. It is amazing to hear kind of the differences in culture, both from retail to e-commerce, and how these things are all working together. It really highlights how important kind of local commerce truly is, that it depends on where you are and it depends on who is selling to you. So thank you again for being on the show. This was so much fun, and I cannot wait to see you guys continue to grow.
Thank you so much, Kristen.
It was so fun. Thank you so much.